One of my most exciting events, I will say, for me is to go to Faith Farm Ministries graduations, or just to go to their thrift shop, or just to do something with them. They are so not only spiritual, but they make everybody just feel so good about what they do and what they're doing for other human beings. So Wayne Richardson, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Faith Farm Ministries, is going to tell us so many things. And Wayne, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having Faith Farm on, as you always do. You're just a blessing to our ministry and one of our biggest fans, and we love you.
Well, thank you. It's mutual, and I feel that way. I mean, I know so many of the people, and before you get started, I do have to share something, and I told them I was going to share this. We are moving, and we have, of course, after 28 years, a lot of things than you can imagine. So after sifting through a lot of the things that we are going to take, there are a lot of things we're not taking. And I said we're going to donate all this to Faith Farm. And so it was very nice that we had a gentleman come over, a couple of gentlemen from Faith Farm that came over to review what we were going to give them, and then when they went to pick it up. And, we're giving them some nice things. And it was such a pleasure, the way that they respond, the way they're so professional, they're so appreciative. That's what you get from this. Isn't just that, yes, they're professional, but they're kind and very loving. Just the way that they acted about everything. They were so enthusiastic. Oh, we're going to get that. And, oh, we can have that. It was really terrific. So I was very pleased. And of course, they're picking things up this week. And I'm sure it was like, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of everything. You just sit back and relax. So now you got me even as a bigger supporter. Okay.
So you listeners heard it first. You need to get on over to our thrift store and
right.
get some of these gems that
lots
Anita's
of clothing
donating.
And things that we're going to, lots of lawn furniture and, yeah, okay. Well, but this is the thing that's really important. I have, and knowing who those people are, that they have been, of course, a part of the program of what the Faith Farm is. Maybe we ought to start off, even though I've done the show a long time, let's just start off with a very brief summary of what Faith Farm Ministries is, and then we can go into some of the exciting new programs that you have.
Great. Well, for you listeners, if nothing else today, I want you to know that there is a free long-term recovery program here in South Florida through 3 locations. But if somehow you're listening to this even remotely, or you're just visiting in the state and you live in Oklahoma or California, we are national in our admissions. So all you have to do is come to our website and you'll see a dynamic men's and women's program that is free. So if you're willing to submit to the program, which is basically saying, you have an alcohol or drug problem and you want to get better and make it right and go back and heal those relationships that you've probably severed, and also take some neat academic classes that I know we're going to talk about, and learn some skills that can put you back to work. Faith Farm might be the place to use. So visit our website. We've been in existence since 1951. And our goal is to be a national model to share what we do with other rescue missions around the country, and not hoard all these neat things that we're doing, but share them for free with other like organizations.
So I want you to go to faithfarm.org,
yeah.
faithfarm.org, and you'll be able to see what Wayne Richardson has just told you about. Now, what I want to also mention, it's very important that not only are you going to have a loving recovery place to be, but you are going to come out a human being that now has some wonderful skills, which will then help in your recovery, right? And that's why you've done these programs.
That's correct. If you don't have a GED, that's one of our mandatory requirements. In fact, from almost the day you set foot, you start training to take that GED exam. If you don't have a job skill, we're going to be training you on a job skill that you can come out of Faith Farm and have a resume to go towards reemployment and reintegration into society. The camaraderie of the student body and the staff, how to assimilate back to see models of people, of different things, from being on a softball team, for example, to going to a church, or if you're going to a synagogue, that you're learning that type of thing that may have been missing from your life, and it will help you as you go back into life and reassimilate with your family, friends, and community where you came from.
And we know that there are a lot of addiction programs out there, and some of them are very expensive.
Yes.
And they don't always work. And I know even where you are, they don't always work. But I think what you have, and I've examined these programs, you have such an esprit de corps. I mean, I know that that Dean tells me when he welcomes new people, he says, "You have got to stick with this. Don't disappoint me." Because it's hard, and I know it. I mean, listen, a lot of us who eat too much. I mean, there's always an addiction of something. We know that some of them are not as dangerous as others in some ways. But the whole point is you have a bunch of willing people. When they come to you by this time, they just don't know what else to do, and they're willing. But they need the direction. They need to feel that people love them and that there is hope for them. And I think that's what you provide so much.
Thank you. And Anita mentioned Dean Webb, our executive director. To hear him on the radio show, you know that he's our ultimate cheerleader, and what a gift to our organization for him to be the passion that he brings to it, and that spreads downward. Also, our women's ministry leader, Ann Gorham, she is just
amazing.
She's a fire plug. You cannot have a bad day if you're around Dean Webb or Ann Gorham. So it's.
Well, you should know that Dean Webb thinks so much of you also, and he's talked about that too, because since you have come, there have been a lot of things in fundraising and opening, as you said, nationally, that you have created because of your experience in this work and all. So we're very happy that you have joined, and we hope that you're happy there, that you never leave. And I know that you have some wonderful new news. Let's talk a little bit about this academic curriculum for the students, which I think is very important.
As part of trying to get the best academic program during the 9 months for the men or the 12 months for the women, what we wanted to do is create a national model. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, we wanted our 3 campuses to have a unified academic curriculum. So if a student transfers from one campus to another, if a staff member, we are all unified in our curriculum. Secondly, we wanted oversight. We wanted to be able to say that if a Wayne Richardson came in and said, I think we should be teaching this one area, and just like a college, if a visiting professor comes in, they have to get their curriculum approved by an authoritative body. So we don't want anybody to ever come in and be able to push the academic program to one vein or another. So we have oversight. For example, we just one of our directors is the provost for South Florida Bible College, and so that type of expertise to make sure we're doing the right way. And then 2 other areas we're looking to have college credit for. That's a new introduction.
Fabulous.
So what would happen is if a student came in to one of the classes that eventually we say we have worked with the accreditation of, it would be South Florida Bible College, a student have the option to take the testing route or not, because we don't want to put any pressure on somebody that is in recovery and they're just not ready for that. Or they may even be going for their GED. But if a student wants to tackle a college credit course, and they'll be doing the work anyways, but do extra testing, that's available. And then finally, we're looking to recruit from our academic board some really neat volunteer teachers that can train not only our staff, but also be great teachers for the students. So we think that is an example of an academic model for a recovery mission in the academic program. And
I love that. And I was thinking about, and I guess I must have come to some graduation I heard someone didn't know how to read. I don't know, maybe that was before you, but anyway, I'm sure you see a lot of that. Didn't know how to read, and he's just, he described what that was like. He was ashamed, he was embarrassed, and of course it didn't matter if he drank or got on drugs because he had such an inside terror about people wanting him to read. And you somehow, your organization, was able to help him read. And I mean, we were all in tears when we heard this. And so it's things like that that really make it so exciting, and why people should be donating to not only clothing and furniture and other kinds of items, but you should be donating money. They really do need money, and we didn't get into exactly, I know Dean has often, about what it costs for each student to live there each month.
About $3,000.
$3,000. I mean, that is so out of sight for you to be able to manage something like that. So we hope that you will leave money to them, whether it's in your will or give them some now, whatever you can do. And the way to do this, just get on their website, which is faithfarm.org, and just let them, there'll be a place that you can get someone to call you back. They have a wonderful woman, Judy Walters, and she certainly will call you. She's very devoted and very dedicated. You can actually reach her at 561-737-2259. But we want you to be able to make sure that that's the place that you call for pickup of anything. And even if it doesn't work perfectly, we don't want you to give them anything that's junk. But you may have a computer, you may have a refrigerator that's not quite exactly right, but they have trained people. That's one of the other things that they do. I mean, I've been toured, and I know this so well, and I know you should be talking, but I'm so enthusiastic about this, that almost anything that anybody has, if it's of high quality, and it just needs a little bit of this or that, they will fix it, they will sell it, and that's how they make their money.
We do.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the work therapy program, because that's really special that you've designed.
The work therapy, if you come to Faith Farm and you come through the thrift store, you walk around, you'll see young men and women, and these are actually students in the program for the most part. We have a few staff that are in oversight, but it's the students that are really creating microenterprises funding that funds over 90% of our operating budget, which is just staggering for me, even when I think of that. How many nonprofits out there have that? And so what we wanted to do, which is really good for the student, it works for our program needs, is take those job skills. We're currently doing new furniture sales and create a resume-worthy training program that's documented. So there's training modules. Let's say there might be 20 class sessions for new furniture where they learn about Ashley furniture, standard furniture, how to be a salesperson if they were coming into an entry sales job at Rooms to Go or any furniture store. So, and I just saw the metrics today for it, and I couldn't pass it. So I would have to go to class. So these students are going to have a certificate that says they passed the new furniture sales, as an example. But even better than that, behind it will be a set of metrics that anybody seeing this will say, "Are you kidding me? You can do this?" And they say, "Absolutely," and you can call this reference. But even better than that, we think that this program in all of our microenterprises, when somebody passes a rigorous work therapy training program, we'll have maybe Ashley calling us to say, when is your next graduate graduating that's passed? Because they know it's a tough standard. And so Dean Webb says this all the time when he's on your show. He says, we want to create every opportunity for a student to succeed. And so when somebody goes through the program, it's really up to them. The opportunities are there. We even had, for example, we're launching a new program called Omega Military, where we had a young man that just graduated, and he is going into the Army this month, actually reporting to basic training. So as an Army medic, so we're really proud of him.
Oh, my goodness.
His name is Stephen Bryant.
Okay, Stephen Bryant, good luck to you. That's a wonderful thing. Yeah, see, you just keep creating new opportunities, but I think that's what it takes. Something that you were talking about, and it's great that they're getting real training, but what they're really getting, I think, is the self-esteem that they haven't had, which is probably one of the reasons that they went into, that their addiction just took hold of them. Self-esteem is so important, and it seems that's what you do, whether, you're always building people up, and I think that's what the graduations do, too. They show, how it is to have camaraderie and, okay, so I made a mistake. Okay, so I'm not perfect, but no one else is perfect, but at least I'm trying to get better.
Amen. And we see even graduations as an opportunity. You'll see, and Anita, you've seen this, but for your listeners, you'll see the graduations are very different, and they're open to the public at any of our campuses. They happen every 6 weeks, but you see the graduation speakers are actually the students, and they give their testimony of their life, and you cannot make these stories up where some of the folks have been. But then I think a really neat thing happens towards the end of their testimony. There's usually family out in the audience that have come, and they usually apologize to the family for the wrongs that they've done, and they can't even begin to, even feel how their family would forgive them because some of the things they've done are so atrocious. But the families do, and there's a reconciliation that happens that's really amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really, people have gone to AA, AA. And so there's always been trying. They bring in their families. They've always tried. But it really requires living at a place where everybody's doing this together, where people care about you, and it gives you a chance. It's not perfect because not everybody can manage it. Maybe and Dean has said sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times, but at least it's the best that can be. I don't think there's another program like this that has so many attributes, actually for the community as well. It's not just for the person. It's for the community. And I think maybe it's a good time to talk to people. You are welcome at their graduation ceremony. And it is spectacular. You walk away from that and all your cares just disappear. I mean, you just say, wow, that's really life. And it's going to be 10:30 in the morning on Sunday, August the 25th. And it's over there where you go to the thrift shop. It's over there on 441, just a little bit north of Boynton Beach Boulevard. And it's in their chapel, and it's really beautiful. And yeah, that's right. Graduation's a tangible result of the Faith Farm Ministries program. Experience the testimonies and the transformation of each graduate with us. And you don't, it's hard to explain this, so you don't have to know anyone in that ceremony. Just go and be inspired.
And bring some Kleenexes along, because right. I sit in these graduations all the time, and I say I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to do it. But generally, I'm trying to man up and not show it. But I'm reaching for a Kleenex.
I think that men are better men if they can cry. Any man that doesn't think he can cry. Let me also though ask you. So, when does everybody get to graduate? I mean, are there some people who aren't really ready, although they've been there for the 9 months?
Well, there are several checks during the program. The first is they come in during orientation, and they have been detoxed, but they're really getting used to the rules and regulations, and that's where a lot of people, quite frankly, don't want to stay and change.
And they are free, as we should mention.
Right.
There are no locks on any doors. And they walk away. They're
working hard at a trade. They're busy. We want to keep them busy, and during the first several months, where their bodies are healing from abuse of drugs and so forth, sometimes they just don't understand what's going on to them. But so the orientation, they can be delayed in going into the academic program, and then there's 6 phases after orientation. They're 6 weeks long each, and when they reach Class 5, which is with orientation being the first, is actually the 6th. That's when they go to a half a day of class. Their bodies have healed, their brains have healed, and I know Dean Webb has talked to you on the radio about the synapses. Really, from X-rays have shown that their brains are starting to heal, and they can actually absorb the academics. If you see somebody come in the program, a lot of times they just can't focus that well. They're recovering. But now they're like a college student, and they're going to school a half a day, and they're working a half a day. They don't get into Class 5 unless they've shown an adherence to the program, the discipline. The light's really gone on in their brain, like, wow, this is an opportunity for me to succeed. And then the half day of class starts motivating to say, I've got a high school degree. Maybe I do want to go after the Omega College program that Faith Farm offers, or I'll go home and go back to school because I'm in that routine where I have homework. I have to study till 2 a.m. because they give me so much homework like a college student. And so that class 5 is a huge deterrent. So once they get there, we know they're graduating. They really bought into the program, and they're one of the best person on your lawn crew or best maintenance worker. They're leading. They're being given more leadership experience. They're working in our corporate office. Like, we have one person that's about to graduate, Joni Jones, who's in our corporate office. So she's taking on a leadership position already. So, and then when they graduate, they're either staying on in some of our programs, or they're returning home to go back to being a productive citizen in their community.
When I heard Emily's story when I was at that dinner, it put me in tears, and it made me admire her, because it takes a lot to be able to talk about what your faults are. Mm-hmm. What she didn't, maybe she does realize, but that all of us have these things. It just comes in different flavors. Sometimes, it's from one thing to another, but to get up there in front of everyone. So I think you're also building some very special qualities in those people.
Emily's a very special person. Somebody told me, a gentleman actually that we're working with in China told me that the difference between a lot of your students and a lot of us on the outside is their faults have been exposed because they happen to be breaking a law or something, where we may be doing some things bad and not caught. And so what you mentioned about Emily is, what a testament to her character and so forth, that she is willing to tell about her past, and there's got to be some hurt there, but there's some joy too when I see what she's doing now and everything in her life.
But I think she also is a higher good here, that she makes other people feel good, than that they're not so bad. That they're all, right. Everybody's a human being, and it just comes out in different flavors.
We all have faults.
I said.
We all have faults. We're not perfect, and you can't have a bad day. At Faith Farm, after you've talked to one of our students, that especially that they've got the lights gone on, and they realize, that they have a second chance, a do-over, type of thing.
The other thing that I've noticed, and that was very thrilling, is that a lot of your graduates go on to start their own organizations. Mm-hmm. There was one, I think, on veterans. He takes all the veterans he can find. And they are so inspired that they now you're creating disciples all over. Mm-hmm.
Well, again, our graduates go out, and we challenge them to make a better world, and they do, and they realize that they've been given a second chance, and they want to share that excitement with other people, and their testimonies can open doors and reach certain people that I may not be able to reach, because they've been there, and they can look somebody in the eye and correct them when they need correcting, and inspire them when they inspire them, and their testimonies serve as that. So they're out there, starting their own sometimes recovery programs, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, they feel so inspired. It's very common for people to feel, but they don't know what to do. But I'm sure that you help them. That you explain how to do this, and that they have and it's probably, you always have a continuing relationship with your graduates, don't you?
Well, yes, and in fact, for probably another radio show, but we're building we're moving to another phase, and that's our alumni association.
I knew you were just going to say that. Oh yeah, that is very exciting.
In fact,
just like colleges.
I'm leaving this meeting to go down to. We're putting the bylaws together, and we're having the database created so that we can track our alumni. So we're moving forward in so many different areas, and again, it's to be a model recovery so that we can share this with others, so that if somebody needs to learn, how'd you set up your alumni station? Or what's with this work therapy program and these modules? Can you send them to us? Absolutely. Or are you going to charge us? No. We want to, that's our gift back, because we've been blessed in so many ways.
How did they ever find you, Wayne? I think that was the best thing that I know in Dean. He was so excited, but I guess he was looking for someone. For a while, he didn't even know he had to have somebody else because he was trying to do everything, but he knew he couldn't. But then to find someone with your qualities and your experience, you have come. And why don't you share some of your experience?
Well, I found out, if you believe in a higher power, that higher power was talking to me and showed me where my giftings were. And I'm a fundraiser. Not too many people grow up and say to their folks, I want to be a fundraiser. It's usually a doctor, lawyer, join the service. But I had a 23-year career in the service through active and enlisted. I graduated from West Point, and I returned back to my alma mater for their first capital campaign. And then my work was just blessed, and I saw I was good at something, and that led to me working for Billy Graham. And actually, if you've ever been to Charlotte, the Billy Graham Library is a beautiful facility you need to visit. And I was brought in to be the campaign director for that and their vice president of development, and just the opportunity to put in a capital campaign at Southeastern University, their first ever, and then start up CBN International's Operation Blessing, their fundraising, and the opportunity of being chief operating officer here at Faith Farm was really something that I'd always wanted to do, and I felt this was if you heard the story that Dean tells and I tell, you know that there was a higher power involved in our meeting and me being here, and it's just it's really a neat place to work, Faith Farm, and be. It's you don't have to go overseas and help folks, which you can, and that's a wonderful thing to do on what they call a mission trip. But there's that going on right here in South Florida at our 3 campuses. From cows and up in Okeechobee and Orchard Groves to a salvage operation that's $250,000 a year, to our thrift stores, to auto auctions. It's just something is always going on at Faith Farm. It's really a neat place.
I'm glad you brought up the auto auction because they are pretty exciting. I mean, I don't know if you're still doing this, but I know at one time there were 50 of them. These cars kept running through, and you have people, mechanics though,
yes,
who get these cars in order.
Our students are part of our auto body shop. We do all of our 29 box truck maintenance, and we have golf carts and sedans, and then they are the cars, boats, and the boats and Winnebagos and cars that you folks donate. They may not be in the best condition, and that's okay because we'll fix them up. And then once or twice a year, we'll have an advertisement and an auto auction, and you can really get a great car for a low price at the auction. So it's it's another one of our micro enterprises, and actually our women's ministry runs the paperwork and administration of the auto auction, and the men through the garage, they repair it. So it's a neat relationship. We have our women's program is located at the Boynton Beach campus and not at the other 2 campuses. So we have one site for the women.
And that is a little bit new, too, because you've had women, but it hasn't been growing. And now, since you've come, I really attribute this to you and your ideas. And you have the wonderful woman, I'm sorry.
Ann Gorham.
Ann.
Yes.
Who was amazing when she's talking, right? And Dean has explained the problems of women being there, right, the same as it is for a man because of her children and all. But yet, I think if they're ill, they need it more than anyone else because they need to get back to their family.
Most of the programs in the United States are geared towards men, yet it's a 50-50 problem. So we really need to grow the women's programs throughout all the country in the recovery mission. So our goal again is at Faith Farm is to have a showcase of a women's program right there at the Boynton Beach campus.
Well, you're doing it, and for people, I know last week, and I advertised it on my show last week, that you had 50% off, 70% off. You had a big sale, and I hope it went well. It
went extremely well. We did very well, and it's all thanks to you folks listening who have donated, and the Anita Finleys out there that call us up and say, hey, please come by. Your donations are going back into the community. It's saving our taxes, for in some cases, incarceration fees, and the people that you see on the street with the signs at the corner. Some of those people are coming into Faith Farm, and their lives are being changed forever. So,
thanks for mentioning that, because I have been known, because for years I always feel, I guess it's guilt, whatever it is. I'm sitting there and I'm driving in my car, and here's somebody with their sign up, and I always felt badly. I would give them $1, $2, whatever. But now I say, wait a minute, you need to go. They look at me, and some of them don't want to hear it. They just want money. Or I used to have bananas, and I would give them a banana. One guy threw it away. So they're all strange things that happen there. But I think that that's very important to let people know where it is. Now, not all of them are ready, and that's probably the problem. And there are some people there who are really not what they say they are, too, and I know about that also. But Faith Farm, you do have a very, very strong reputation. Everybody knows what you do there is credible. You have that if you give money, if you give things, they're going to go to the best use. And so, Wayne, it's been just absolutely wonderful having you here, and we're going to probably have you come back another time and have Dean come back. But we thank you so much, and good luck with everything.